However, there is this tiny piece of evidence that could potentially indicate that there were in fact horned helmets during the Viking Age. Hey guys, Christopher Norse Rain. Today I have another news story for you, and it's about the Viksø helmets. Horned helmets from Denmark. I'm also discussing the old chestnut, whether or not Vikings wore horned helmets. First off, I just want to look at the practical side of things. Imagine that you're on the battlefield and you're charging towards the enemy. You got your axe, you got your helmet, but your helmet has big fucking horns on them. Let's just, look at the impracticalities of this design. First of all, the enemy could very easily strike the horns on the helmet and then you would lose your helmet basically. Or they could just pull it off quite easily because it has long protruding horns on it. It's not very tactile, this design, You would want to be a small target for the enemy. You don't want to be a big target, but with horns you're automatically a big target for the enemy. Another scenario would be if you're on horseback. So you're riding through the woods, you see some low hanging branches and you try to duck, but your horns are sticking out, so the branches are going to smack that helmet off your head quite easily. So only thing that would be positive, I think, it might have a certain badass factor to it, having horns on your helmet, but looking at all the impractical sides, it wouldn't be worth it, basically. For the record, only 2 Viking helmets have ever been found. Ever. The first one is the Heide W helmet, which was found in Norway in 1943. And the other one is the Durham helmet, which was found in England in the 1950s, but it wasn't identified as a Viking helmet until 2020. Apart from these 2, no other helmets, especially not with horns, from the Viking Age has ever been found. Neither are there any written sources that refer to horned helmets. So, if the Vikings didn't wear horned helmets, what's the deal with these Viksø helmets, because they clearly have horns? I'll tell you about that in a second, but in case you're new to the channel, I'm posting new Viking-related content every Sunday. I'm looking at Viking history, Norse mythology, reporting on Viking news in the media, looking at Viking culture today, and traveling to historical places from the Viking Age. Now, if you enjoy that kind of content, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment for the algorithm. It helps me out making more of this kind of content, and I really do appreciate the support. Okay, so the Viksø helmets. These 2 helmets have bull-like horns. They have bird eyes and beaks. They were discovered in a bog in Viksø, Denmark in 1948. They were found on a wooden board, so archaeologists believe that they were deposited there as religious offerings. The helmets have been believed to be from the Nordic Bronze Age, so roughly from 750 BC to 500 BC, so pre-Viking Age. But this was just an educated guess though, as we weren't able to carbon date them, because you can't carbon date metal. But that was until recently, because during a photo session of the helmets, the photographer discovered a tiny bit of birch tar residue in one of the helmets. And based on this, carbon dating was possible. And as expected, the helmets are from the Bronze Age, before the Viking Age. They're from 900 BC, so about 3,000 years old. In this image, you can see how the helmets were thought to look in their prime, with a mane of horsehair and also feathers attached. Very stylish. It's highly unlikely, though, that these helmets ever made it to the battlefield, as they're very thin, fragile, and basically super impractical for battle purposes. So it's more likely that they were used during religious ceremonies or worn by people of power. The origin of the helmet is traced back to the near ancient East. It's believed that they come from the coast of Levant, the East Mediterranean, and that they're made by a group of people called the Phoenicians. They might have brought the helmets to Scandinavia while traveling their trading routes. Figurines with similar helmet designs have been found in Sardinia, southwest Iberia, and southern Scandinavia, and they are all thought to be linked to the Phoenician culture. I was wondering though, the Viksø helmets were found in 1948, but we have a lot of depictions of Vikings wearing horned helmets that's from before 1948. So even though the Viksø helmets didn't help to kill the myth of horned helmets, it certainly didn't start it. So, who did start this myth of the horned helmets? You know who's to blame? Wagner. Richard Wagner wrote an opera called Der Ring des Nibelungen, or The Ring of Nibelung, which premiered in 1876. The characters were loosely based on gods from Norse mythology, and the costume designer, Carl Emil Doppler, who were inspired by Germanic artwork, he made winged helmets for the good guys and horned helmets for the bad guys. Thus, the myth was born. The idea stuck and has become a Viking trademark till this day. I like to think that most people actually know that Vikings didn't really wear horned helmets, but I think people still use this design to portray Vikings as it's an easy way to differentiate Vikings from other medieval groups of people, and also the fact that this image is so firmly established. However, there is this tiny piece of evidence that could potentially indicate that there were in fact horned helmets during the Viking Age. I present to you the Oseberg tapestry. The Oseberg tapestry was found along with many other funeral offerings during the Oseberg ship excavation in 1904-1905. Historians believe that the image represents a religious procession. In the reconstructed image, you can clearly see a figure wearing a horned helmet, which seems to be leading the procession. The figure is larger than the other figures, and it has been argued that this figure is supposed to portray Odin. Also, in another textile fragment from the excavation, the horned figure appears again, this time holding a pair of crossed spears, facing a man wearing something that reminds of a bearskin, a berserker maybe. So, the idea of horned helmets was alive during the Viking Age, but did Vikings actually wear these things? I am hoping that we'll find more archaeological evidence, more helmets from the Viking Age, but I highly doubt that we'll ever find helmets with horns. Of course, there might be an exception. You know, there's always this one guy that wants to stand out, but I don't think this was a common thing at all. What do you guys think? Do you think there were occasions where the Vikings would wear horned helmets? Let me know in the comment section below. Wrapping it up there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.